Welcome students to our 12th physics lecture, that is chapter 10, that is magnetic field due to electric current. So children, as we know in previous lectures, we have seen electrostatics in which the charges are stationary. Then we saw the chapter that is current electricity in which charges are in motion when electric field is applied to the conductor. Today we are going to see magnetic field due to the electric current. So as we know in 11th standard we have studied that when a conductor is carrying current, then in a circuit, then there is a magnetic field created, and then we know the direction of this magnetic field is given by the right hand rule. Then we have seen that experiment which was given by Oersted, that where he was the first to discover that experiment, that when the current is when there is a current in the loop, then we have magnetic field. And then also we are going to study in this chapter that the solenoid, which is actually the wire wound around around a cylinder, hollow cylinder, and which is similar to that of a bar magnet, and the magnetic lines are same just as for the magnetic for the bar magnet. Now, dear friends, you also know one more important thing, that is when you travel on the way, you see the high tension power transmission lines, the power lines on the big and buildings, or you can say big uh, tall steel towers. That is, because of this, there is a strong magnetic field created. Also, now I'll just tell you about more about this, the introduction, and about the magnetic force from the PPT. Now, Christian Oyster first discovered that magnetic field is produced by electric current passing through a wire. Now, this experiment, he connected a conductor uh, to a battery, and when the current was passed through it, he kept a needle, magnetic needle, and because of the current, there was a magnetic field, or you can say the magnetic lines were formed, and because of that, the magnetic needle got deflected. And when the polarities were changed of the cell, the deflection was in opposite direction. This was given by Christian Oyster. Then also we know that Gauss, uh, then Henry, and uh, Faraday, they showed that they showed that there is a connection, or you can say the electric field is a partner with that of the magnetic field. Maxwell himself theoretically worked, and he highlighted the close relationship of electric and magnetic field. And there are many practical applications which we come across daily in our lives. That is, electrical motors, generators, communication systems, and computers. So now we'll see the direction of electric field is given by right hand thumb rule. So here we have to imagine, now see here, if there is a current carrying conductor, you can see in the figure, and the current is in this direction, upward direction. And if you imagine that if we hold this conductor in our right hand and the thumb is showing the direction in which the current is flowing, then this curled fingers gives the direction of magnetic field. So this is the right hand thumb rule. I repeat, imagine that a current carrying wire is held with your right hand with the thumb pointing in the direction of the current, then your curled fingers gives the direction of magnetic field. Also, one more thing, very important thing is there. That is, if there are two wires, one wire, this is wire number one, which is carrying a current, and the magnetic field due to the current carrying in the wire number one, the magnetic field on um, every point on the second wire, the magnetic field is shown in the inward direction, and the current we can see is moving in the above direction. This is for the second conductor. So because of this, and because of this conducting wire and this magnetic field B, the force is exerted, and that is towards the wire, towards first wire. So this force we are going to study today. And also we know that current is nothing but the flow of electrons. But one more important thing is the conventional direction of the current flow is opposite to the flow of electrons. Now, the next topic which I'm going to take is magnetic force. Now, now we have seen this force. This is the same force. This is a magnetic force represented by Fm. The magnetic force Fm on an electron with a charge minus E moving with velocity v in a magnetic field B vector is Fm vector equal to minus E. Then in the bracket V cross is a cross product of V and V cross B. In general, now instead of minus E electron, we are taking a charge in general for a charge Q. The magnetic force will be Fm equal to Q in the bracket V cross B, which is equal to QVB sine theta n cap, where theta is the angle between V and B and n is the unit vector in the direction of the force. If the force F is 1n acting on the charge of 1 coulomb, then we can define the unit of B, which is equal to F upon QV. From this, you can see the equation Fm upon QV if we take, and sine theta is 90. Okay, then we have this equation F is equal to B is equal to F upon QV, which is equal to the unit of F is N, Q is C, and the velocity is meters per second. So this comes about, this is called Tesla. This SI unit is called Tesla T, and 1 Tesla is equal to 10 raised to 4 Gauss. Then we have Lorentz force. Now, Lorentz force, if you see, it is the combination of two fields, that is electric field and magnetic field. If both electric field E vector and the magnetic field B vector are present, the net force on charge Q moving with velocity V vector is Lorentz force. F vector equal to QE plus, now this is the electric field we know, from Coulomb's law we know this, plus Q in the bracket V cross B. Now this F vector equal to Fe plus Fm. If the velocity, we'll see now two cases when this term, that is Fm equal to 0. So here V cross B is given by this figure. See, V is represented here in this way. The cross product is in the direction of the unit vector perpendicular to both V and B vector. If the velocity V of a charged particle is parallel to the magnetic field B, the magnetic force is 0. That is V cross B, that is sine 0, VB sine theta, that is sine 0 is 0. So the magnetic force is 0. If, second one, if the charge is stationary, then V vector equal to 0, because stationary charge velocity is 0, the force is 0 even if B is not equal to 0. So this part is 0 when they both V and B are parallel, and second when Q is stationary. Then we'll switch to the next topic, that is magnetic force on a wire carrying a current. So here we are going to see a magnetic force on the two wires. Once the wire is a straight wire, and second when it is of any shape. So first we'll see about the straight wire. Consider a straight wire of length L in external magnetic field B perpendicular to the wire coming out of the plane of the paper. So see here, you can see that it is represented. See, if you take this as wire of length L and the current is moving in this direction, this is length L, then the magnetic field which is perpendicular, it is shown by a circle and a dot. That means the electric field is coming towards us or out of the plane of the paper. That is, it's perpendicular. So now L is perpendicular to F, L is perpendicular to B. And now let a current I flowing through the wire be I. So I is the current flowing through the wire. So the drift velocity Vd. So when it is flowing, it's having velocity, and this is drift velocity. Vd is the drift velocity of the conduction electron. Then the charge Q flowing across the plane PP. Now see here, we have shown here PP. So the charge Q flowing across the plane PP in time t will be Q is equal to IT. We know that current is nothing but the rate of flow of charge. So we have just written that I is equal to dq upon dt. So Q is equal to IT. Now Q is equal to, now for t is what? T is equal to V upon ID. That is velocity upon time. Distance upon time is velocity. So IL upon Vd. T is equal to L upon Vd. The magnetic force Fm on the charge, that is Fm equal to Q Vd into B bar. B bar. So this is, we know this is a force, magnetic force. So then we can substitute for Q from this equation, that is IL Vd upon Vd into B dot Vd sine theta n cap. Now Vd is getting cancelled, so we get that is equal to ILB sine 90 n cap. So here we can see that here this is the current flowing, this is the magnetic field is there, it is in perpendicular direction. So this is the force which is perpendicular to it, Fm, it's represented by this force. So here electrons in the wire having drift velocity Vd experience a magnetic force Fm upwards as the applied magnetic field lines come out of the plane of the paper. So you can see that. So this is represented. And if it is inward, it is shown by a circle and a cross inside. So this is outward, exactly towards us. So this is the force Fm equal to I L cross B. So this is for the straight wire, the force due to the straight wire. This is a force acting on a straight conducting wire placed on magnetic field. Now the second one which we are going to take is the arbitrary shaped wire. So here you can see that this shape of the wire is arbitrary, that is any shape or irregular shape. And we are going to consider a small element dl. We are going to consider a small element dl, and the current flowing is I. Then the force exerted, we are going to see this. So consider current I flowing through the segment of infinitesimal length dl along the wire. So small, and this is a small part of the element which we are taking, and the current flowing is I. It's a constant, or we can say it's the uniform current. The magnetic force due to the perpendicular magnetic field B, so coming out of the plane of the paper, is given by dfm. Now this is, as the element is small, so the force is also small force, that is dfm, which is equal to I dl cross B vector. The force on the total length of the wire is, so now when we consider the total length, we are going to take the summation of each elements. So now instead of summation, we can also have integration. So the integration Fm is equal to integration of dfm vector. So small forces together, it will give a total force Fm, which is equal to, now here if we take this integration sign, so I is constant, it will come out because I is a constant current. So it comes out of integration, and we have integration dl vector into B bar or B vector. Now if B is uniform, again we can write the equation in such a way that Fm vector equal to I is taken outside, and we have taken this in the bracket, this term, because B is also uniform over the whole wire. So this is the ultimate equation of the arbitrary shaped wire. Now we'll see a third point, that is the force on a closed circuit in a magnetic field B. For a closed wire circuit, that is C, we have seen earlier, that is Fm vector equal to I integration dl into B bar. The integral is over the closed circuit C for uniform B vector. Now when we consider the closed circuit, then for that we write the integral sign, and there's a circle, that is a closed circle, that is a closed circuit. So Fm vector is equal to integration of closed circuit for this circuit C, I dl cross B vector. Then Fm vector equal to I in the bracket. Now we are taking this as B is also uniform. Here we are taking this as integration closed circuit for C dl cross B vector. The term in the bracket is a sum of vectors along a closed circuit. Hence it must be 0. So remember that for the closed sum of the vectors along a closed circuit, it must be 0. So Fm equal to 0 if B vector is uniform. So this is very important, that if it is not uniform, then Fm is also not 0. But since B is uniform, we have Fm equal to 0. Now next point which we are going to consider is the torque on a current loop. So now what is torque? For a linear displacement, we know that it is called as force. But when we consider 3D, or we can say a circular motion, we consider we call this force as a torque. So this torque, or you can say moment of couple, it is denoted by tau. Now here consider, here there is consider the current carrying loop ABCD. We can see here placed in the uniform magnetic field. So here there is magnetic field is created because of this magnets. So here this is the uniform magnetic field shown by parallel lines. When it is shown by parallel lines, means it is a uniform magnetic field. And then this sides AB and DC or CD sides are perpendicular to this magnetic field. We can see here. Then by right hand rule, the we can say that the if we consider, we take a right hand and then write in that the finger pointing, the pointing finger of right hand shows the direction of the current, shows this, it shows the direction of current. Then the middle finger shows the direction of magnetic field. So you can see that, and the straight thumb, it gives the direction of magnetic force. So this is right hand rule for this torque. Then here we can see that the current is in the pointing finger is showing the current, and the middle finger is showing the magnetic field, and the force is represented by the thumb. So here now see, consider again here the magnetic field, which is uniform magnetic field, and it is coming towards us. So it is perpendicular one to the length of this coil. You can see single coil we are considering first. So consider the rectangular loop ABCD placed in a uniform magnetic field B such that sides AB and CD are perpendicular to the magnetic field B, but sides BC and DA, they are not perpendicular. So you can see that the sides are not perpendicular. They are parallel. They are parallel to this B, but you can see that this AB and CD, they are perpendicular. So the force on side BC will be C. So the force F4. So see here, this is F1 on F1 is here for CD, F2 for AD, then F3 for AB, and F4 for BC. So now see F4 equal to I. So we know that from the above relation we have seen that the force is given by I L2 B sine 90 minus theta here. 90 minus theta. And for side, again AD, the same force, it is the magnitude is the same. F2 is equal to I L2 B sine 90 minus theta. Thus, F2 and F4s are equal and opposite, and so they cancel each other, and they do not contribute for the torque. Then the magnitude of forces F1 and F3 on side AB and from this AB and CD. CD will be F3 equal to I L1B sine 90. So we can see this force. Okay, this is perpendicular and that is sine 90. That is, now when it is sine 90, so that is a maximum force I L1B. Similarly on CD we have F1. CD we have F1. It is also I L1B because this length is L1. This length is L1. So I L1B sine 90, that is I L1B. So here we can see that F1 and F3 are equal. And the moment arm is, here you can see that it is half L2 sine theta about the central axis of the loop. So about the central axis of loop, it is half L2 sine theta. So the torque tau due to the forces F1 and F3 will be, so we know torque formula, it is tau equal to force into perpendicular distance between the two forces. So here torque is equal to, so I L1B is a force F, and the perpendicular distance between the two forces is given by this half L2 sine theta. Similarly for F3, it is I L1B half L2 sine theta. So these both are equal. So just if you add it, we'll get tau equal to I L1 L2B sine theta. If the current carrying loop is made up of multiple numbers of turns, now here we have considered only one loop. If there are n number of turns, then we'll have tau dash equal to n tau. Now tau dash equal to n I L1 L2 B sine theta. Now here, if we consider L1 and L2, so now this is L2 and this is L1, right? So the area of this of rectangle, we know that it is L1 into L2. So we have tau dash equal to NIA B sine theta, where A is equal to area of the rectangular loop, that is L1 into L2, where A is the area enclosed by the coil. So this is the area enclosed by the coil. So this is nothing but the side view of the loop ABCD at an angle theta. So we can see that so we have seen the torque, and now the same principle will be applied for the moving coil galvanometer. So the torque is equal to tau is equal to here NIAB. So we are going to see what is the moving coil galvanometer. It is very important part, and this galvanometer, we are using it in the laboratories, and last lectures we have seen that how a moving coil galvanometer is made, how it can be used as a ammeter and voltmeter. We have seen the previous chapter. So what is the principle of its working of this moving coil galvanometer? We are going to see this. So this is the figure which is representing the moving coil galvanometer. These are the two. This is the upper view. This is the top view, we can see, and this is the side view. So we can see that a galvanometer, it consists of a coil of several turns mounted or suspended or pivoted. We can say in a such a way that it can rotate freely, okay, freely about a fixed axis in a radial uniform magnetic field. So the magnetic field is radial because of this north and south pole of the magnet. It is a horseshoe magnet. And here in between there is a former or iron core. It is a soft iron which makes the field radial and strong. This is very important. And the coil rotates due to a torque. So the same principle applies here, that torque tau is equal to NIAB. NIAB, we have seen earlier, we have derived the equation for it. And now what is this? A is the area of the coil, B is the strength of magnetic field, N is the number of turns of the coil, and I is the current in the coil. So torque is equal to NIAB. And you can see the figure, it is suspended in this manner. There is a mirror, because when there is a twist, we can, when there is a twist, we can see it in the mirror, or we can say that there is a pointer attached to it. And because of that, uh, because because of the field and the radial field, it rotates, and because of torque, when it rotates, it the pointer shows some angle, or it is getting twisted, you can say, rather it is getting twisted. Now this is the torque, which is a deflecting torque. So we are going to equate it with the restoring torque, and then we get the angle which corresponds to the angle. That angle, it actually gives the current, how much current flows. We can see that. So this counter torque balances the magnetic torque, so that a fixed steady current I in the coil produces a steady angular deflection phi. So see here, this is the deflecting torque, and deflecting torque, and this is the with this torque, it balances it, or you can say it is the restoring torque. So when you balance this torque K phi, that is the deflection which we get. Now this, you can see that this is the top view, and this is the radial magnetic field is we get because of this shape, horseshoe shaped magnet. And this is the iron core here, we can see that. And when this coil, it gets deflected, and then we get the uh, corresponding current value. So this phi equal to NAB upon K, where this all are constant. So we can say that the deflection is directly proportional to current. So see here, thus the deflection phi is proportional to the current. So how much current flows in this wire, that we can get it on the screen, or there is a screen on the moving coil galvanometer, and then we can measure the value of current, how much current flows through the coil. So this is very important equation. The question is asked for 4 marks, and we have to give the working and construction of moving coil galvanometer. So this is very important. So this is what we have studied in this chapter, in the magnetic field due to electric current. So study this chapter at home yourself. And one more important thing which I want to tell you is that since because of this pandemic, we have reduced the syllabus. In this, we don't have 10.3 and 10.4, which is cyclotron motion and the helical motion. We have dropped it in our syllabus for this year. So study whatever is taught. Thank you. So children, continue reading the textbook, so you will get more information.